good morning. Why we say good morning? Because it is another beautiful day filled with possibilities, no matter what time of the day it is. Even if it's in the afternoon, even if it's late in the evening, it's good morning. Because morning has potential. And yes, today we bring to you the law of awareness, which is law number 2 in the 15 Laws of Growth by Dr. John C. Maxwell. And when we talk about awareness, what are we saying? Is we're saying you must. The emphasis is on the word must. You must know yourself to grow yourself. In other words, knowing is bringing an awareness into your life. And hence the law of awareness is a law that says growing yourself is essential. But before growing yourself, you need to know yourself. And this is a key question which I'll ask at the end of this training today, or this particular law that we are coming into awareness of, the law of awareness. You must know yourself to grow yourself. And here we ask ourselves an important question. We ask, who are you? I think that is a question we need to sit down and think deeply. Who are you? Who am I? Is a key question. Who are you? And just looking at some of our notes today, who are you? Do you have a sense of direction? And again, speaking back to the first law, when we had asked ourselves is, many people don't know in their mission and their vision for their own lives, is they don't know their why, their what, their who, their when, etc. And that tells me there's a lack of direction. And in this setting today is, do you have a sense of direction? So, who are you? To grow yourself, you've got to know a few things about your life. You've got to know your strengths. And yes, you have many, although they may not be sensitized to you. Others may not have come into your life and pressed the button and say you're strong, because when we get into some future notes, we will look into many people who want to remind you of your next one, which is your weakness. Isn't that true? We have a lot of people that may focus more on your weaknesses, but personally, we need to know what our weaknesses are so we can address them. We need to know what is our interests. Where do our opportunities lie in our professional world? We call it a SWOT analysis, where we look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Sort of similar in terms of what is the SWOT analysis of my own life, but also where you are and where you want to be is two important things in our lives. Where we are and where do we want to be is two opposite ends of the spectrum. We are looking at where we are today and where we want to be, but we got to ask ourselves, where do we want to be, which goes in line with our question here today is, do you have a sense of direction? And asking ourselves, what is our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our interests? What are our opportunities? Knowing these 4 critical areas of your life tells you one specific thing: where you are. This is important. Where you are. If you look at how strong am I, how weak am I, what are my interests, and what are my opportunities. So, to reach your full potential, to reach this potential, we're finding ourselves that, again, you must know where you are and where you want to be. Because in knowing where you want to be, we're going to ask ourselves the key questions in these 4 areas. Now, we have 3 kinds of people. We are either one of these kind of people. And we ask ourselves here today, what are those 3 kinds of people? We fit into one of these 3 categories. It said, people who don't know what they would like to do they are confused. People who know what they want but don't do it. These people are frustrated. People who know what they want and do it. These people are fulfilled. What do you think is the percentage of fulfilled people on the planet? How many people can we realistically say are fulfilled people? Our estimation is there's 5% of people are fulfilled. Well, 20% of people are happy in the workplace and 80% are frustrated because they don't want to be there. They know they've got a better destiny for their lives. They know they need to be in a different space and a different place, but they're not there yet, so they remain frustrated and they fall into the category of they know what they want, but they don't do it. But I think the worst of these states is to be in a state of confusion when you don't even know what you want to do. You don't even know how to get there. You've not asked yourself the key questions. And so to remain confused is a very, very sad state of affairs. It's a very personal dilemma. But to move from frustrated into fulfilled is a higher calling. But to be fulfilled takes action. But to be frustrated is probably better than to be confused, because at least we know where to go, what to do, but we don't do it. So that causes us to be in a state of frustration. So our call today is to move from frustration into fulfillment. Let's move into a deeper dive into this subject today. Let's ask ourselves, let's have a little discussion if possible. To become aware, and I've got a leadership assessment out there, press the button, the Dion button, and say, give me that assessment. Reach out to someone who shared this video with you and ask, give me that assessment. And I will plug you into an assessment saying, what are the 21 areas of your life? Give yourself a score, and you will come to some form of conclusion, temporary conclusion, because remember, we're moving into fulfillment. But I'm going to bring you into a temporary frustration. But at least I'm going to take you out of frustration into fulfillment. But before I can take you even into fulfillment, I need to bring you into a little frustration, but at least out of confusion. And talking about the word frustration, are you aware that a beautiful pearl that hangs around the neck in beautiful jewels, and being a pure pearl, comes out of an oyster? And if you are aware that an oyster had within it a grain of sand which constantly became frustrated and rubbed against it and rubbed, and the more it accumulated more sand and more stuff into its life that it didn't want, it used that frustration, and it was a constant frustration. But later on, the constant rubbing against it brought out this beautiful pearl, which actually brought out a fulfillment of something beautiful. So don't despise frustration. But if you're confused, and I know I'm harboring this point, if you're confused, you've got to come out of confusion. You've got to get into awareness. And I'm going to bring you into an awareness. And once you have an awareness, you can then move out of it. I'm reminded of the story of a woman who was driving her car on a road, and she saw another car coming. And she tried to warn that car there was a dog in the road. The dog was just running crazily across the road where she came from, and she was scared this dog was going to be harmed. But she rolled down her window to this man and said, "Dog!" And he became frustrated, and he rolled down his window and shouted back to her, "Cow!" And the next thing is, he bumped into the dog. She was trying to bring him into an awareness, but he he really didn't get the message, and at the end of the day there was some form of can we call it a calamity, a dog killed that shouldn't have been killed, etc. But being aware that there's something in the road is a very good thing. Being aware that there's something that can hurt you is a very good thing. So how is a question. Dion, help me live this. How can I find myself in a better place? And this is how I'm going to be talking for the next few minutes. How to find your passion and how to find your purpose. And here's a statement that was made by a very prominent person, a Mr. Schuller, who asked this question and said, if you knew you could not fail, what would you do? Can you imagine if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the direction I am moving in, there is no way I can fail? What will you do? What will you accomplish? What will you become? That will be an amazing place. But finding your passion, finding your purpose. Our question is, do you like what you're doing? How many people have you come across who just hate what they do? I made reference earlier to 80% of people in the workplace. They don't like what they do. This is our work satisfaction evaluation, is showing that 80% of people don't like what they do. So let's say you went into the post office and you saw 10 tellers and 8 of them were just dreary, they don't want to be there, they hate their job, and you just see 2 of them are passionate about serving people and helping people and want to give them what they've come for. Who do you want to help you? Who do you need help from? Move out of the post office, move into the service sector. We know people who hate their jobs. How would you like a mechanic who hates his job to work on your car? How would you like a doctor who hates his job to work on you? How would you like a brain surgeon who all of a sudden hates brains to work on your brain? But we are attracted to people who have a passion and have a purpose. And this is what we're doing today, is to bring you into this awareness that if you find passion and you find purpose, because if you set out to run a mile and 3/4 of a mile ahead there is a cliff, should you try to finish running the mile just because you started out to do, or are you going to stop because there's a cliff and this cliff could kill you? What is the better mindset at this point? Changing direction. It's a risk. But what if you don't change direction? Is that a bigger risk? Changing direction is a bigger risk. Becoming aware that there's a hole in the road can save your life. Becoming aware that there's a trap that's set which could kill you can save your life. So becoming aware of your own identity, and we spoke about that earlier. Asking the questions about your strengths, your weaknesses. Becoming aware of your own identity, your personal awareness. What does it mean to be personally aware? And we've got to explore the following few questions. We've got to ask ourselves, what would you like to do? This is a question of direct passion. What would you like to do? There's a saying out there, if you don't like what you're doing, eventually you're going to find somebody who you're going to subscribe to and do what they like doing. That's because our own lives lack vision, our own lives lack mission. We're going to live out someone else's vision, someone else's mission. But what would you like to do? This is a direct question to you. Again, to me today, Dion. Dion, what would you like to do? Joe, if you're listening, what would you like to do? Amanda is recording. What would you like to do? Is a key question. there is a definite connection between finding your passion and reaching your potential. Direct connection. In other words, if you don't do what you do, or rather if you do what you do without passion, you're going to lack potential. You can't go where you hate going. Psychologically, you're going to kick up the storm. You're not going to want to do this. And passion, that fire, it gives you the advantage over those who have none. The two tellers, they have an advantage over the 8 who don't want to be there. The mechanic who's passionate about his work, you pay him extra. You give him more of your time because he's passionate. Because passion gives you energy. Check your heart. This very week I've been following up on the university's page and listening to your psychologists coming on the page talking about burnout. Because students could be facing that. Students could be facing a whole lot of things. And the subject is burnout, and just so be it that my very notes talks about burnout, but burnout is not doing too much of something. Burnout is doing any amount of the wrong thing. And our aim here today is to get you not to do the wrong thing, but to do the right thing. And I'm going to switch just briefly into a slideshow which I just want to talk on here for the next couple of minutes. This talks about the 7 levels of character. It's an amazing piece of artwork which was put together by some of our leaders. And this is not even a Google image. You will not find it. This is information you're going to be seeing for the very first time that this is actually coming out now as thought and subject. And it really has resonated with me closely. I want to talk to you about these 7 levels. And that at the first level, you've got what you call a line of effort. At level 2, just above level 2. And then you get a line of courage, and then you get what we call a line of proof, because we need proof, but also there's a line of courage that needs that action. We need to step across that action. And then you have this line of effort. But you're asking, what are these 7 levels? I want you to know that 5 to 7 is positive, and that you've got 1 to 4 is negative. Then you've also got that above the line of courage is generosity. And then you've got this one which is selfish, which is more to do with me and not others. And then you've got that which is visionary, but you've also got it that it is an increasing creative energy. And then you've got this down here, which is a negative perception. It's low energy down there, and then up there is just your headings. Here we get to the meat of the matter. What are the 7 levels of character? Number 1, have you ever been in a zone or a mood to just run away? We can up it. You don't want to run away anymore. You want to quit. Then you get somebody who's a warrior. When we talk about warrior, to worry, to have anxiety. And then you get someone who's a superiorist, of which I'm very guilty of many times. And I'll talk to that briefly. But you've got planning, which comes into event. And then you've now got what we call a servant lover. But then you've got the joyful soul. So remember I spoke about destiny. I spoke about a point of arrival, vision, future. That's the ultimate, is to be the joyful soul. But we're not there yet. Where we are at the moment is we're in runaway mode. Many people are at this level of character. But what is the emotion with every single level? Well, this one, why do you run away? Is I've got guilt, but more than just guilt, a hateful guilt. Moving up to where I'm in a quitting mode means I'm grieving about it, but I'm apathetic. I'm not going to make a change about it. I don't care. And that is below the line of effort. I don't even care to make a change. And then you have the warrior, which has this craving, wants to make a difference. But the superiorist operates in pride, but an angry pride. But you have to move over that line of courage into thinking and planning. This is the difficult part, to think. Again, how many people on the planet actually sit down and think? Like our Mr. Einstein, who just sat down in darkness, totally in a dark room, and thought up solutions. It's important to think. Servant lover, his emotion is to love. But the joyful soul is unconditional love. It doesn't take sides. Wow, that's a tall order. That's a reminder for me today. But what is the tendency of this person that wants to run away? He hides from life. The quitter, am I speaking to somebody today? You want to roll over and cry out for help? How many times have you refused to get up in the morning? You just rolled over the blankets and said, oh, not another day. About the warrior who goes out there, he acquires what he needs to acquire because he's taken effort, but he's fearful. And to walk in fear is not a good thing. This is why many of us are acquiring things out of fear and not out of rightful acquisition, because we can acquire it because we are worthy of acquiring it. But there's the superiorist who's comparing, and that I'll talk about in the next law. The difficulty with comparing ourselves with each other and the personal wrongdoing in just comparing ourselves. But being a superiorist, which is negative, it's low energy. I can never give my best. But we move and we take courage because now we're aware. This is something you've never ever seen, and seen it for the first time. Perhaps our psychologist who would watch this would look into this and unpack it. But as a thinker and as a planner, I now have intentional problem solving. But my tendency as a servant lover, above the line of proof, is that I'm loving. And finally, number 7 is I accept and I love and I forgive. To run away, hopeless disgrace, helpless. Warrior says I'm never enough, superiorist, I'm better than others. Unemotionally reasonable as a planner, non-attached, being perfected. But man, think about this. How would you like to get out of bed and say, God hates me? Or better, God doesn't care about me. And as a person of faith, I have to bring this into the picture. I will not steer my ship in your direction, but personally, if we're in a place and we are a believer, and you look at that, God doesn't care about you, it's a sad state of affairs. But to actually move up and say, God is disappointed and God is vengeful, I am still below the line of courage, but because I take the wisest step to believe that God is wise, and in my planning I'm going to include Him, and as a servant lover, He is just and He loves me. But the perfect place to be is to be at oneness with Him. And the highest level of character, to be the joyful soul. Where are you in this here today? Where do you place yourself? Have you become more aware of where your character is placed? Let me throw the spanner in the works on this particular slideshow. Is there a level lower than runaway? Is there a -1 character? I believe there is. How many people never want to run away? They don't even want to hide from life. They just wish they were never born. They just wish they were never part of the equation. How many people want to strip their own lives from them because of the pressures that surround them? Now that you become aware, what are we going to do about it? And I want to bring you in closing to a very specific question. I just want to bring us into something here that will help us understand ourselves a little better. And there's so much more that this law offers. But in the time frame that we have, we just want to give this. I'm not going to give you all of it. I'm not going to take a very deep dive. But the two most important questions, or rather the two most important days of your life. And those days, we want to ask ourselves, the day that you were born was an important day. And the other important day of your life is the day you find out why you were born. And I know many people don't know why they were born. They don't know why they are where they are, and what is their destiny in life, and what is their calling, what is their mandate as the servant lover, as the person whom God has given a gift to, and to go and give that gift to others. That day you don't know what it is. May our notes and may our impact that we are attempting to make in your life bring you to that place of awareness. And I will get into deeper content with more in-depth studies as we progress in this very law in other settings. But for now, call on me, ask me for that assessment. I will send it out to you. Something that will hopefully help you to take a step in the right direction. I hope today you are a bit more aware. I know you may not be deeply aware, because this is just knowledge for now, but I hope you are more aware of where you need to be and where you need to go. Thank you very much, and see you in the next lesson.